dans la nuit de dimanche à lundi, tout cela est arrivé avec une véritable sidération, puisque pour des millions de Birmans, on a vraiment l'impression qu'on a fait un saut dans le passé de 10 ans en arrière. C'est pour la détention d'un pauvre walkie-talkie en vertu d'une vieille loi très orwellienne sur les télécommunications, le président qui est incarcéré pour une fraude électorale. Donc tout cela, c'est vraiment très familier pour le peuple birman, toute cette propagande d'État militaire où on ne recule devant rien. Il y a une dizaine d'années, ce qu'on a appelé un peu trop précocement le printemps birman, cette période de transition démocratique. Ils se mettent un peu en retrait en mettant en avant un gouvernement civil, mais ils ont renforcé leur pouvoir, leurs prérogatives, leurs revenus aussi. Le vrai problème, c'est le camouflet électoral de novembre dernier, quand l'ancienne milice de l'armée, la USDP, a été complètement rejetée dans les urnes avec seulement 33 voix. Et il est possible que le général Minang, qui est quand même l'homme le plus puissant, quoi qu'on en dise, de la Birmanie, même avant ce coup d'État, l'ait tout simplement très très mal pris et décidé de resserrer un peu les rangs. Il y a un mouvement de désobéissance civile qui est en train de se propager, notamment sur Facebook, sur Internet, sur les réseaux sociaux. Il y a effectivement les Américains, la nouvelle administration américaine qui a tapé du poing sur la table, l'Union européenne à l'instant, les pays voisins, mais les militaires birmans savent qu'en cette période de pandémie, de toute façon les frontières sont fermées. Qu'est-ce que va faire l'administration américaine, notamment au Conseil de sécurité, pour voter des sanctions quand l'allié chinois très puissant va de toute façon mettre un veto? Donc les militaires birmans ont fait un coup parfait. Il va être très difficile de faire pression sur eux. Donc on est vraiment dans le retour d'une remise en main très 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 forte des militaires birmans.
Currently, we're doing a campaign by hitting pots and pans, and we have our song, anthem song, and I think we have planned to do it every night until we gain back the power back to the people.
You're listening to a special version of the Insight Myanmar podcast, covering the military coup and the ensuing protest movement that has developed. During this crisis, we're ramping up the production of not only podcast episodes, but also our blog and other social media platforms. So we invite you to check these out as well. All the other projects that had been in progress prior to February have since been paused indefinitely to focus entirely on this emergency. But for now, let's get into our show.
Season, Mibo Jound Democracy, Heliamia Chapian. Kokota, Samashi Tausaji, Dinipa Chamele, Dola Ye Naname O Hindakwa, Ludu Onja Mugo, New Ampio, social media go Tambio Teto. Laton Jound Dogana Segana Melope, Lakalene Pepe Nene Mwe, Bagadi Chenego, Mie Almaji, Sekansa Mugo, Shedan Deme. Maluada Mashanda Mudenya, Yama Mensia, Kui Aji Lenia. Lebia sent the legua papia. Ngaba about when Tangas and Mauyomaka, Leondo Mujiba Balalaya, Balan Baunet Parka, put your piasu, George Hara around the Yamamati, maybe a paso Lanizo doing a camne. အားလုံးနားလည်လက်ခံစားမြင်စေဖို့ကော်မရှင်ဖွဲ့ပြီးဈေးစည်းရင်တွေကိုပြန်စစ်ဆေးနေတယ်အသက်ကုန်တီးခံထားရလို့ပိန်ရှုပ်နေတဲ့အိုးခွက်တွေနဲ့ပဲချက်ထားပါတယ်အရေးပေါ်ကာလပြီးဆုံးပါကမိဖို့ကြောင့်တွေရွေးကောက်ပွဲတရက်ပြန်ကျင်းပအနိုင်ရအာလူပါတီကိုအာဏာလွှဲသွားမယ် Cooking up democracy dishes in my very own kitchen by Coco That. What shall I cook for you people? You can afford to be a glutton if you can't afford a grain of rice. I will curry your revolution with coriander. Simmer the mass movement until it gets very, very soft, irreproachably tender. I won't allow it to thicken, or it will be tasteless. Turn social media into tomb and lemon salad. I wouldn't garnish it with my 3 little fingers. I will stir democracy dal with the longest digit I possess. Let me pour out all my fish sauce feelings. Blood stains on the kitchen floor are of no consequence. It's unavoidable. I am the executive chef. Am I not a better cook than your mum? I can ride a spatula for a horse, yodeling like a hyena, under a squeaky buffalo cart. The situation is plain and simple. An elephant crumpling a paddy in broad daylight. Not just all the 5 abbots and the Sangha Mandapa were overthrown. Even the reclining Buddha was knocked down flat in the process. It's unavoidable. You happen to be harvesting frogs in a holy basket. The idiot lizard's ashen jacket will collect nothing but ash. Don't take the burglar creeping up on you from behind for your husband. Please help yourself to Brussels sprouts and Liberty fries. Now let me serve up more bromides as soiled as my oily rags. I will investigate fraudulent shopping lists while you work up your appetite. I have cooked with pots and pans banged out of shape in your Hunger Game protests. After the state of emergency is over, there will be a new election in the kitchen. I will then transfer power to my Huan, Alu Party for our people.
Okay, so my name is Thiri Nandar, and I'm 32 years old, Tamil Burmese woman who was born and grew up in Myanmar. And I'm a Buddhist. And to be emphasized, I'm not like a traditional Buddhist who was born in Buddhist family and have to follow the family religions. I'm more like someone who is following the teaching of Buddha and who is really believing in Buddha teaching. And for my work background, I work in many fields like teaching profession, tourism, translator. I work in many NGOs for the development field and research and other development projects. And I grew up in a very traditional family in Myanmar, and it's always a bit challenging. But I ended up married with a Frenchman, and I moved to France here in France in 2019. Now it's been nearly over 2 years I'm in France. And until now I'm in France. Yes, that's all. This is me. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Thanks for sharing that. So you've been in France for a couple of years. How has that adjustment been in terms of culture and society? It's a very different kind of place than Myanmar.
For me, it's not too much different because before I came here, I worked with a French company for like nearly 4 years. So I'm a bit of familiar with the, you can say, French culture. But still, there's some shocking culture when I arrived here. Like, for example, when there's a lot of procedure in France to get one paper, to apply in some things, official documents. It gave me a lot of headache. But I'm still surviving here.
Right. What's the thing you miss most from Myanmar?
Oh, the food. A lot.
So you're not a big fan of French food?
No, I really fall in love with French food also. But, just what is missing is the spice. Because in French, they say, it's too spicy, but for me, it's not spicy at all.
Right. What's the food you miss most from home?
Yeah, I miss the spice. Moringa. It's a kind of noodle soup.
Yeah. So you mentioned a bit in your introduction just about your Buddhist background. You made a differentiation between the traditional way that you were raised and your parents followed, and that's not necessarily the way that describes your Buddhist practice, but that the Buddhist teachings are very important to you, and the Buddha as a spiritual teacher is still very important. So what shape were you raised in following the Buddhist teachings, and how has that changed as you've grown older and your relationship to the teachings has perhaps also changed as you've matured?
Like I mentioned, because in Myanmar, most of the people, and they are traditional Buddhists, which means like they are born in the Buddhist family and they say, okay, my father and my grandmother are Buddhist, so I will be Buddhist. And after they follow all the traditional things, and they are not. But for me, I'm more like I grew up in a family, and we have a one monk. We can say like a family doctor. We can say family monk. And he was teaching me rather than like you have to follow and you have to follow that. Rather than that, he teaching why you have to follow, why Buddha say that, and what is the good way. And he say, you don't. In Buddhism, we say don't drink alcohol, and he didn't say you don't drink alcohol, but he say more like why you shouldn't drink alcohol, and he explained with the reasons, and also in sometime in Buddhism, and you can see some are connected with the tradition. Buddha doesn't say don't cut your hair on Wednesday. It's not religion. It's more like tradition. So for me, I'm not following this kind of traditional things. I'm more following what Buddha is really saying. Yeah.
So it sounds like the family monk that taught you from a young age encouraged more of a critical thought relationship to the teachings rather than just blindly following what was said. And some of that is custom, some is tradition, some is from the scriptures, but it's all kind of mixed together. And it sounds like he had more of a critical mindset approach to understanding the value and the purpose for why one was encouraged to do this or not do that.
Yeah, you can say I have a good teacher, like the teacher monk, and also my father is a good teacher for that. Yes.
And were they teaching you in a particular tradition or a particular lineage? What style of methodology or practice were they coming from?
Mostly the monk, he just said to meditate every day. He doesn't ask me like, to say the prayers every 3 times per day, 5 times per day, not like a traditional one. He teach me how to live in life with regulation, with what kind of rules and regulations. And also he teach me how to do meditation. Meditation is more like to control yourself, not like to reach some level or something like that. More practical ways. Yeah.
So what style of meditation did he teach you?
Just to breathe in, breathe out, and more concentrating on the breathe. The breathe is coming yourself, and you don't think about the others and don't think about the other situation right now. Just concentrate on one thing to make your mind peaceful. This is the basic one he taught me. Yeah.
So it sounds like mostly an ānāpāna practice.
Yeah. Yes. Right. Is that
right? Yeah, that's great. So then, since you've been in France and you're away from your home Burmese Buddhist community, have you been able to connect with different Buddhist communities there, or have you been able to your Buddhist practice, or how has that been in trying to bring your Buddhist teachings into a country that's not Buddhist?
In France, no, I haven't been in contact with any organization yet. I mean, it's been 2 years I'm here in France, but honestly, it's only I know a few Burmese here, and there's one place near my in-law house. It's but because of COVID, it's closed everything, so I don't have a chance to go to any meditation center yet. They stopped accepting people. Yeah.
Right. So you were living in France. You picked quite a time to move there. Soon after coming, you had a global pandemic that hit and had you stuck indoors, I assume. And then just as the pandemic was starting to get better worldwide, we had this terrible February 1st military coup in Myanmar. So what was it like living halfway around the world in Europe as you were following what was happening in your homeland from far away?
First, when I heard that the coup is happening, I really can't believe, and I was so panicked, and I can't sleep at all. Like for 1 week, I was always with the phone, and I want to know what is happening there. How is my family? How's my relative? What is the situation there? It was so shock. I can't believe that when I heard the news. Yeah. But for 1 week, I can't sleep at all. And after 1 week, I have a notification from my phone and saying that, your screen time for last week is nearly 24 hours per day. So after I saw that notification, I said, okay, if I go in like this, I will fall down. So they need me. I want to do something for them. So I reduced my screen time, and I try to be a bit calm down. Yeah.
How did you try to calm down?
At least I try to sleep at night, not to be. But normally when I sleep, I switch off internet. I put silent mode. But now I sleep, but I stay. My internet is on. I put the sound in case there's something happen and my family want to call me.
Right. Yeah, it's a different world with a different set of rules that you can't just shut off as you could before all of this, because at any moment something can be happening from someone that we care about and wanting to get that update from them. So with that, I guess for you, for me, for many of us outside, we don't really have nights of good sleep anymore because I don't know about the time zone in France, at least in America, the late night is right when Myanmar is starting to wake up. So just as my day is finishing, another day is starting, and as I start to wind down, then all the messages and the phone calls and the news and everything start pouring in. So it's definitely been a lesson for me of how to manage that and how to protect my own mental space and physical health with, when there's this unpredictability of news hitting us at any moment.
Yeah. Yes. It's a bit hard to balance to your life here and the life there, and your mind and your thinking. All your mind, all your thinking are there, and you have the life here, also the here, and then it's a bit hard to manage. Like you mentioned, I start to afraid to wake up with some notification from my phones. Yeah, it's a bit hard.
I don't know about you, but I've had instances where I've been so deep into some conversation or project or assistance or whatever it is that I might not go outside for, a day or more on end because I'm just so focused on what that work is. And I walk outside and suddenly I kind of forget which country I'm in because I'm so focused in this other world. I don't know if you've had anything like
that. Yes, I feel like. And when I go out, especially with my in-laws family, and sometimes I don't know where I am because they are speaking in French. And when we are eating the family dinner, I can't follow their conversation at all. And I was seeing my father face in my in-law face, well, my father is not here. Who is he? Or is kind of. Sometimes my husband have to ask me, "Are you okay? Where are you?" Or it's happened to me also. It's a bit hard. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is the role of trauma surfacing, right? Like, even though we're outside the physical harm, we're so connected with people that are in danger, and we're involved in many ways, in different ways, constantly of trying to provide that help and learning news, that there's this kind of second degree trauma of, even though we're not personally at risk, we're so associated with the risks that have happened and that could potentially happen, that in some ways there's some disassociation that takes place of kind of losing touch with certain time and space, and mentally getting so involved in what's actually happening there that what's happening in front of us becomes secondary.
The one like another feeling for me here is like, whenever I do something here in France, in my daily life, I feel like so guilty. Even I was listening one song, I was thinking, oh shit, I'm listening one song, and my family in Myanmar, they are hearing the bullet sound and the striking sound. I'm listening a song here, so I can't listen to the song anymore. I have to shut down the sound, or it's so much guilty to be here and far away from everybody from Myanmar. Yeah.
Right. And that's something I wanted to talk about, because when we were speaking before this interview and we were going back and forth talking about what topics and perspectives we wanted to discuss on the interview, the first thing you talked about was guilt. You said that was the predominant feeling that you wanted to go into and share, and just go into the experience of what it has felt like for you, being a Burmese who is not in the country right now, and as a result of not being there, this feeling and sensation of guilt that you're living with and grappling with every day. So can you describe a little bit more of what that guilt feels like when it comes?
Yeah, because I'm away from my family, and also because as I mentioned before, I'm a tradition. I grew up in traditional family, so we have a very close relationship. Even between my cousin, we are living in one big house with everybody, like 20 people. So I was away from all 20 people, and my cousin are in the street striking, and we don't know they will come back safely, or they will come back with their body, or we can't know. So it's I can't do anything here. And the only thing I can do is to checking the message from Facebook. And I will say, okay, today, when they come back home, my aunties inform me, okay, your cousin arrived at home. And after I say, okay, one day is finished, all come back with a normal stage, And at the time, I feel like it's so much guilty. I don't know how to express in words. It's really like something is grabbing my neck, and I sometimes I forget to breathe, like kind of minutes. It's like they are doing that, I can't do here, and it's a lot of things coming inside the mind. And sometimes I was crying like this without realizing I'm crying for hours, especially when my husband is not at home, when he go to work the whole day. And yeah, it's I never feel like this in my life. Why, it's a lot.
I'm sorry. And has that gotten any better with time? Have you developed any strategies or ways of working with it? Or how is that? Because we're now entering the 5th month of this, and that's quite a big emotional burden to carry you, that's really taking over you on a consistent basis. So as this has gone on, have you developed any kind of strategies to work with
that? Actually, I should meditate, but I can't concentrate more than 2 seconds. But it's not working. And second things I try is my in-laws say, okay, sometimes you should forget things, and you should think of yourself also, because you have life ahead in your own, and so you should forget. And one day I try to switch off all the connection, or the Facebook and internet, and I say, okay, I will try to relax. But the next day when I opened, I heard one new, and I was so frustrating to hear. So sad, because I missed that. I can't go. I don't know. So until now, I'm involving in many projects to help Myanmar people. Instead of shut down, I already find the shutdown way is not working, because after you check again the news, it's all come back to you worse than normally. So now I try to work as much as possible I can for Myanmar people, for the community. So I'm involving in many projects. Yeah. The first one is the name is La Communauté Piedmont de France, CPF. In English, is Burmese Community in France. This is an association with the Burmese people. It was created in 2004 with a few Burmese people. Since then, they are doing the human rights and like cultural events. But after the military coup on 1st February, we try to regroup again with to against the Myanmar illegal military government, and we organize many activities here. Like for example, we organize the striking event, and also we try to send letters to the French government to ask for the help and to ask for the recognition to ask for the recognition of the NUG government. And also we try to collect money, and after we try to donate the communities in Myanmar. Yeah, we try everything we can to raise awareness what is actually happening in Myanmar and what kind of help the Myanmar people need right now. Yeah, this is one big project I'm involving. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right, and how has that been going?
Yeah, it's going well, but we have a small working group to organize all the things and like that, and I have some experience. Like some people are afraid to come the striking event or to involve and to show their face, especially they are worried for what if they don't get visa anymore? What if they don't go back to Myanmar? Or what if the military government do something to their family? So there's some people stay afraid of that and not involving in many activities here. And also I'm handling the communication for the CPF. So I face some bad reaction from the French people here also.
What comments are those?
It's like, like if we post something, oh yeah, we are striking for that, and they are saying, oh yeah, we have our own problem. Why you are saying about your problem here in France? There's a lot of people supporting, a lot of French people supporting, but there are say bad comment also. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So what have you generally found to be French sentiment and I guess French sentiment among the people that you're in touch with on social media, and then from like news organizations and covering this? How are you finding the response there in France?
Normally, it's a good people. People have a good reaction. They are supporting mentally a lot, and some people they are support a lot, and they suggesting you should do that. This is the government procedure. They give us a lot of advice also, and some people that we have in our group some volunteer French people who is helping for communication strategy or with a lot of volunteer also, but. Yes, but the problem is that except the small group of French people who have a bit of communication with Burmese community, they know what is really happening in Myanmar, so they show a lot of support. But normally, when you say all the French people, some they don't know where is Myanmar at all. Even they have no idea what is Myanmar. And yeah, second, it's they know Myanmar and they know what is happening in Coop, but because of in French, the media coverage is not that much about Myanmar. So they say, well, wait, it's been 6 months, so maybe it's already finished. Or they don't know it's still happening, still suffering there. Or yeah, so yeah, it's this kind of reaction from French people. Yeah.
And also before the interview, another thing you had mentioned to me was that you were quite concerned with what you were seeing as fake news. So can you share a little more of what the nature of this fake news you're seeing is, what platforms you're seeing it on, and what has you so concerned about it?
The fake news, the problem in Myanmar is not very new, because we opened up the internet suddenly in 2015. Everybody start to have a phone, but especially in this during the coup period, it's a really if I give one example, for example, some people there's one post about on Facebook and saying, "Oh yeah, UN will come in 2 weeks and they will help us in Myanmar to fight for the military government. UN will come in 2 weeks. UN will come in 2 weeks," and it's give really a lot of hope, face hope to the people. Especially when you think about my mom and my grandmother or my grandfather, they are like not young generation anymore. They trust this kind of fake hopes. And in Myanmar also, Facebook is the main platform for everything. If you for teaching, for communication, for the news, Facebook is the main. Even when you do business, so every time is. If I say another example, just today, this morning, one singer passed away, and there's a lot of fake news about that. Some people say, "Oh no, he passed away with malaria," and some people say he passed away with but because he's using the drug, or some people say no, he is killed by the military. And it's really worrying, especially from I'm outside of Myanmar. So when I opened my Facebook, I saw 3 or 4 news, and I don't know which one I can trust at all. It's really hard to do the fact check also.
Yeah, this is really tough because, of course, the military has basically made every reporting institution in Myanmar except their state media companies illegal overnight. And so there's reporters are at as much risk as anyone else there. And so that leaves the internet and Facebook for people to start sharing. And way back decades ago, before the internet was in Myanmar, of course, one of the ways that people learn news was through tea shops, by going to tea shops and hearing rumors and talking about things and trying to interpret different things. Now that the virtual tea shop is Facebook. And so I'm wondering, in the fake news that you see, what do you think is behind it? Do you think it's people genuinely trying to figure out what's going on and just being confused and just having the kind of whispers in the wind start to take things in a different direction, or do you think there's something more malicious and intentional behind
it? There's some kind of news that really like they are spreading fake news with intentions. Like, for example, like they want to trust that the singer is passed away because of the drug. If you see this kind of news, if you see the source, surely it's a side of military side, the people who are supporting military, who is sharing that, who is spreading that. But sometimes there's it's not intention, but it's concerned with the logic thinking and the education of Myanmar people also. Like, for example, one people shared one picture of the People Defense Force, PDF. And after the military knew that where the PDF member are, and yesterday was a sad event in Manali. It happened because of that photo. So that people have no intention to harm PDF, but just she just want to show that she knows there's some people, and because of that, it's sad thing happen.
So it was because of someone sharing sensitive information without a malicious intention, but just kind of wanting to be ahead of the news or get a scoop or show some kind of maybe get some credit, that it was this selfish desire which led to the deaths in Mandalay. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly that. Yes.
And then since this event in Mandalay, and of course this, as we're talking, this happened just yesterday or the day before, but this podcast will be released in a week or so. So some time will pass before people hear this conversation. But in the release of the news of this terrible shooting that happened in Mandalay, what have you seen from the online response and the online reaction to it?
It's a lot, because people. Okay, one thing is that they are blaming each other. Because like they say, okay, because of that, the person who posts and blaming each other, you shouldn't do that, you should do that. This is the first reaction. And second reaction, most people, they are really affected by that news. And for example, in our group here in Myanmar people, and we start to think, okay, we should do something. We should do long-term plan, not to. We should do something for that, because of we are thinking, what should we do? What kind of plan will help to the people? So this is the second reaction, to think about the plan. And the third reaction is like some people start to be afraid and hopeless. For example, like my family and my auntie start to say to my cousin, yeah, you shouldn't go out. And people have to feel more and more afraid things, and frightenness is really killing them. Yeah, it's a lot of reactions.
Right. And with that third reaction of starting to be afraid, of course, that is what the Tamada is wanting the people to be. They are wanting people to be afraid and to start to realize that however bad their rule is going to be, it's going to be better than this current period now. And that's certainly what they're aiming for. And so from what you hear and what you're talking to within the online community there back in Myanmar, what are you feeling about their morale? Is now that we're 5 months into this, is there a sense that some sectors of society just kind of want to go back to whatever stability can be there, whoever it is that's leading? Or do you feel there's still a kind of never return to the end attitude that is still continuing even as times are getting harder?
Even in my Facebook list, I can see like 3 people, like 3 group of people. One group, they don't care at all. They have money and they are going club. They are posting the beauty photo on the Facebook and they don't care at all. That is one group. Second group, it's more like my mom or like a bit older generation. They say, okay, we don't want to let people die like this anymore. So whatever who is ruling is military or whatever, because they grew up in the military regime like last year. So they say, okay, let's go. Even they are doing stupid things, let's accept that and let's carry on, because they are afraid to lose people more and more. And the third group is more like young people. No, we will fight until the end because we don't want our generation to suffer like this anymore. And other militaries, our country is already destroyed like last 60 years, 100 years. We just start to develop and now it's go back to that regime. So we will fight until the end. So I see, if you see roughly, I can see 3 groups like this, the people.
Mm-hmm, right. And I think I'm most interested in this dichotomy between the second and third group, because the first group is probably pretty small, the people with money who can just sit this out and it doesn't affect them so much. But the second and third group, the group that wants to just go back to some form of stability and the group that wants to continue until the end and never accept this, to me, that is really the core question of how the movement is going to develop. Because, of course, the Tamada wants to splinter that. They want to find some way to drive a wedge and to break that solidarity so that there's a growing cry for people that just want to settle with the more activists that want to keep the fight going. So is that a concern you have? Do you feel that we, as this stretches on, that there could be some kind of wedge or division driven between those that want to keep on no matter what and those that have kind of had enough and just want to settle into whoever's going to be the leader?
I don't think so, because except like you mentioned, the first group which doesn't care at all, the second and the third group are, I mean, if there's, for example, if something happened like yesterday, Mandalay event, and today about the singer and things like that, even the second group, they say, okay, let's stay under military because I want to give up this striking. But after this kind of news come up, they get the, I don't want to say it's kind of motivation, but they get back the spirit, okay, we will fight. We will fight back. Yeah, it's a bit hard to say, but the second and third group are nearly the same, you can say, yeah.
Right. One is a little more active and one is a little more passive, but their views of the situation are pretty in line. And that's interesting that when the military does an egregious action that is killing people and something really violent, that is not having the effect of scaring the people in the second group into wanting to just accept it and move on. It's actually motivating them to be angrier and move closer to the third group. Whereas in past struggles, those that kind of violence was usually more effective in wanting to keep people at home and have people afraid and willing to just accept a more stable society, even if it was in fear and a lack of rights. But in this case, in 2021, that's not happening.
Yeah, because we are not like in 1988, because at that time it's not developed yet, and you don't have all the news yet, and you are seeing only the people in front of you dying. Or you say, okay, we can't anymore. But now people have more logical thinking. People know more. People know things, and also because of the news, people can see like where is happening, what is happening in where, and how cruel is the military, and then it's make them to give the spirit to fight that until the end. Yeah.
Right. And along with that is this thing of fake news, where you talk about people are trying to be more informed and have access to information they didn't before. The military has tried to deprive everyone, including their own soldiers, of access to internet and information, and they haven't been able to do it. We're living in a century and a year where their society, just even their own operations, can't function without internet. So they've limited it. They've experimented with different kinds of shutoffs and limitations, but they can't run a society without having internet on. And so now that they realize the internet needs to be on in some form, and you can't take it away, they're trying to confuse it. They're saying we accept it has to be here, but let's try to make it more confusing and upsetting and ambiguous of what's going on. Of course, there's, as we're talking, online is in Russia, and there's some real fears that there might be some Russian tech guys that will be up to some more tricks on the internet in terms of some of the fake accounts that they can do. So what are your concerns about how Burmese are reading these fake and ambiguous stories? Are these creating some kind of tension or confusion, or people not knowing what, or are the readers generally pretty aware of those tricks and not falling for them? What are you finding?
If I say compared to last years, I think our people have more knowledge in the information, how to handle the informations, because they have some kind of like 5 or 10 years experience now with the internet. Okay, it's worrying compared to the Western country. The fake news in Myanmar is still worried, but sometimes they might share one news without thinking, but after they can think, oh no, it's a fake news. Because with now it's a bit harder. With the emotion, you don't think right and wrong. You just say one thing. You saw one news and you share immediately. But after, if somebody explain, no, it's not a fake news. It's the real news. Oh no, sorry, it's not the real news. It's a fake one. They can refrain from sharing that news. What I worried is that because in Myanmar there are less trusted source. For example, there's some freelance journalists. Is one freelance journalist who Myanmar people trust now is Marat Chotu. So people trust whatever he say on. So it's a kind of a fact checking. People are saying, okay, Marat is not saying yet, so maybe it's a fake news. Or so what I worried is here for Myanmar people is sometimes they trust people like 100% without thinking anything. One day something become, or like one newspaper they trust a lot now. It's just somebody want to use that for wrong side. It can be really worried for the people. Yeah, I'm really worried for that.
Right. Yeah. There needs to be more critical thought, and whoever the person is being to peer evaluate and look at what it is they're saying and not taking everything in. Because I have heard cases where journalists or social media figures who are generally respected and are giving accurate information have slipped up and really have had some story or some fact that just is really not quite exactly how things were. And it's been much harder to try to distinguish that because they're coming from such a level of trust before that. So in terms of I know that in country, it's very dangerous to be a reporter. There's no longer any real legal newspapers or magazines that are allowed to print. This is, of course, Myanmar is a very literate culture. It's a culture where people really appreciate the news, are passionate and talking about the news. And now we're going back to not an actual tea shop, but the virtual tea shop of online, as well as some of the Myanmar journalists and media organizations as well that are based outside of the country that are still reporting.
For me, I checked many sources when I saw one new. For example, I trust BBC, and that's some kind of trusted. I don't say I trust 100%, but you can rely on them a bit. And there's some I know personally some journalists. Yeah, I check the information from them, and I follow what is happening to them. Also, if they are always safe, or where are they? Or I didn't ask them where are they, but I was checking the news that they are stay safe.
Mm. Right. Getting back to what you said a little bit ago, you were mentioning how the first few weeks of it, you were just quite stuck and paralyzed in understanding the news and realizing what happened. And then slowly you started to organize to actually being involved in some of the community organizations, playing a number of different roles in media, getting the story out, protests. And one of those things was donations. So you've been collecting donations and then finding a way to get them to Myanmar. And I know that you can't tell exactly how you're getting them there and where they're going because it's not safe. They've also made donations illegal as well. The donations have to go through a structure where basically they're stolen and confiscated and used for the military. So you've had to develop other networks that we don't want to talk about here. But can you share generally just where your donations are going, how you're, in general ways, without giving anything away, how you've been able to get donations into the country and what they're going for?
Okay, there's a two way I can say. One is because legal process I can say here is when we collecting money CPF. According to French law, you can't donate to personal account, and you have to donate to organization. So whatever we get, we collect money for CPF. We send the organization in Myanmar with helping to the people. So it's a legal way. So we choose the organization which is really helping the ground people, and after we donated it, there's just a legal way. And another way is legal, also just a bit complicated. It's like sometimes some people talk to me, I need money. We need money for this group of people, for CDM, or this healthcare, or for this food. And so for this, I try to collect here in a connection here in France. Sometimes the Burmese people, sometimes French people, and after I transfer money to Myanmar and I donate that mostly for CDM and CDM people, and the healthcare system for the people who are in the refugee camp. And that one, it's for the food. Sometimes you can't donate money and you have to donate food. People have no food at all to eat, and especially in there's places in Mandalay area. There's one organization is doing that. Yeah, but of course you can't say that you are donating food to them because otherwise the military will take it. Yeah, so we try to donate food also. Well, mainly 3 ways.
Yeah, it's a really hard situation because you basically have what's becoming a failed state with an active military that's at war with its own people while trying to suffocate them, strangle them, block access from any kind of relief of any kind. And you have this entire state that is needing an entire 50, 55 million people that are in need of just basic living, of food and medicine, some kind of shelter, especially as monsoon season comes. And everyone that is engaged in this issue around the world is basically doing what they can just through small donations of rallies and such and campaigns in their own local community to collect and provide whatever they can. But it's a really difficult and tragic situation, because an entire state being able to be sustained as they're also undergoing a professional military waging a war of terror on them and trying to bring them in sustenance as this continues on longer and longer. So it's really quite dire and concerning how some of these humanitarian things can continue to get in.
Yeah, and also, like you say, we are donating, but also we are not rich. Also, the community, especially Burmese community here in France, is like, compared to US or UA, it's really small here. So every day I was like asking for different titles to the same people. They can't donate much. Also, we need a long-term plan to help something to Myanmar. It can't be only with the people, because even you ask the rich people who is living in Myanmar, they can't donate all the time to everything also. So like I like one girl is saying on Facebook and saying that, yeah, you have to, don't feel guilty or don't sit down and crying. Just walk as much as you can, and then like find money. Just your priority is find money. Second priority is find money. So because we can't do anything now from here.
Yeah. So as you've been more involved and you're actually collecting and sending these funds, I mean, I'm sure the funds you're sending are literally saving lives of, being able to give food or safe houses or medicine or other things for people, or CDM, which is shutting down the military as well and operating the state. Has that done anything to relieve your guilt and feeling that you're not being passive? You are doing everything you can. You're leaving everything on the table, every bit of energy. Has that done anything in working with those feelings?
It's like it's good to donate, and as when I donate something, I feel a bit better. Okay, I was donating something, but as soon as you see the message, you're in your messenger, and people are saying, "Can you donate that? Can you collect for that?" And after, you can't donate all, so it's a kind of a bit burden for me also, because I have many messages, like 10 messages, and I can donate only 2 or 5. So the rest, if they come to my personal account, it's easy, because I will try my best to collect and to send, even not the whole amount. I can send some amount. But if they come to organization, as I mentioned, according to French law, we can't donate to the people. We have to donate to organization. So I have to say no. So it's really hard for me to reply the message, no, we can't help you. We can't help you. Yeah. It's kind of relieving, but it's kind of hard also.
So those debilitating feelings of guilt that you mentioned before, that just kind of shut you down and paralyzed you, I think you said it was almost like a force on your throat. Are those still coming with the same kind of intensity?
Yes. Like last week, I was a bit better, because I'm involving like 3 or 4 projects to help for Myanmar. And this week, I feel, because of the news coming every day, the sad news, and especially today, I have 2 or 3 news, which make me, even I'm working, I'm still doing the projects, but I feel like 24 hours is not enough for me to help Myanmar people. Yeah.
Yeah, and it does seem like you have to find a way to take care of your mental and physical well-being, because the better shape that those are in, the more you're going to be able to give, and the more energy you're going to be able to run on. And those feelings of guilt, they just take away productivity, really. They just take away the time that could be spent on doing more of that work with a stable mind, and taking it away with the emotional drain, which of course is understandable, and there's no judgment with that. Of course, it's very understandable to feel that where you are, and yet at the same time, as it goes on month after month, I wonder if there's a way to even to use your meditative background of investigation into the body and mind, and the reflective thought into what that practice was, and start to accept it and be with it, if you've had any experience of that.
Yes, because sometimes I like you say I have to accept that I can't, like if I give example with donation, and I have to accept that I can't donate to every case, to all amount. So if I accept that, it can make me a bit stable, not stable, how can I say, a bit relief. Okay, I can't donate all, but I already do my best, and also I'm talk with my family, and also my friend. Sometimes I talk with my friend from Myanmar, my best friend. He has to convince me not to worry too much because he was saying like you don't trust the news from Facebook. Sometimes it's like over and it make you overthinking. We are facing, and then let's face it, then let's do it. If you worry, nothing will help you, and trying to calm down. And yeah, that's why it's I sometimes say to my friend, I want to be there in Myanmar so that I don't overthink. I face the situation and I fight for it. It's better to be there rather than here and you are thinking what is happening now in there.
Right, right. Although on the flip side, there are things that people can do outside of Myanmar that cannot be done inside. Everyone is having a role to play. I spoke to so many activists on this platform where they told me basically the month of February, they were out every day, no matter who they were, what their background, they were just all on the front lines. And then at some point, one by one, they just kind of started to realize, I don't need to be helping the movement by being on the front lines. And actually, I'm not a person that is well suited to that. I should be trying to raise donation or develop strategy or run some underground newspaper or share information or some kind of thing that they've realized that they don't need to be literally on the front line to be doing the best work and to showing their commitment and their resolve, that there could be something, there could be another role that's actually much, much better for the movement, that people might not even really know what they're doing, but they're better suited for it. And so I think from what I've seen, it seems like the first 6 weeks, everyone was somewhat formulating who they were in relation to this. What is their background? What is their connection? Where are they? What are their skills? And assessing what is it they can do from where they are, both geographically as well as personally, that will be of greatest value at this moment. And for a lot of people that were there, in the cities, they were realizing that did not always actually mean being on the front line. There were things that were more helpful than that. And so I think for those of us outside as well, there could be a way of looking at something that we can do in our position, both in our person and our geography, that we couldn't do if we were somewhere else, or someone else couldn't do if they were here. So, really trying to fit into that role and embrace that role, and then do that as best as we can, accepting that is who we are, that is our limitations, those are our strengths, and being able to support in the best of our capability from where we happen to be.
Yeah, that's why when I accept to for this interview to podcast, I was thinking, okay, I should accept, and I can speak out what I'm feeling out the situation, and to let people know more insight about Myanmar, and I feel like it's one way to help people. So it's maybe not that much, I'm not sure, but yeah, it's one way. Yeah.
Well, everything counts, everything counts. And that goes for listeners as well. We've had listeners on here who have just decided to start a donation project. We had one guy who made a compilation album. All the proceeds are going to our nonprofit, Better Burma, which we're then sending on to Myanmar. And there was someone in Germany, in Berlin, who went to a table on Saturday and just sold, things that she made at home, little snacks and other kind of handicrafts, and made something like $100 and sent that $100 proceeds to us. So again, for the charity, so that we were able to bring it in there. And so small or big, and these are two examples of doing things to fundraise and give donations, but that's not the only thing you could do. We had a guy on the podcast in Montreal who this has nothing to do with money. He is an artist, and there's a mural scene in Montreal. So he and a friend just painted on one of the walls a mural representing the Myanmar protests with different imagery and words and everything else, just to show awareness of what was happening. It was just art, it was just giving time. And so one of the things I really try to underscore is that this is something for those who care. There's no need to feel helpless. There's no need to feel, oh, this is so bad, what can I do? There's so much that everyone can do. And even if what you can do is limited in terms of where you're at and the time you have, that, there's no judgment on how much one is giving or what one is doing. But there's no need to feel helpless. There's always something that can be done, and every little thing matters. Every little thing is adding up to more and more momentum for a story that's not yet over.
Yeah, I'm so glad to hear that many people are helping Myanmar, and that's what Myanmar people want to hear. Even they hear somebody is I don't know, like you say, selling for them in Germany, they will be so happy, and they will get so much motivation from that. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Right. So what do you think, both inside and outside Myanmar, what needs to happen for the people to win?
For inside Myanmar, we need to stay showing their military that we don't accept them. It doesn't need to be go and fight with them, but there's the other ways of showing that we are against military. For example, you don't pay the tax to the military government, you don't pay the utility bills, and to go striking, or you stay doing the CDM, be strong to stay to do the CDM continuously. This is more like for the people inside Myanmar. But I really want to say that people inside Myanmar, just to be, when they do some activity, just their first priority should be their safety. First priority safety, and after second, whatever you want is the other thing is second all the time. The first priority should be safety all the time. And for the people like us outside, we should talk more about Myanmar, and we should raise more awareness, and we should raise more fan. This is the best we can do. And also we should encourage people to not encourage. I don't know what is the right word. We should convince for example, the French government to recognize NUG, the official government of Myanmar, so that they can proceed well. Yeah, this is the outside people can do. But I sure and I believe that we will win in coming future. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope so. And we're all doing all that we can. And you had talked about with your guilt, sometimes you weren't even able to listen to a song, thinking that was quite powerful, mentioning that you just heard a song and enjoying it. You realized your family was hearing bullets. That was one moment. How about now? Are you able to take any time for yourself? Have you been able to go for a walk or enjoy a meal or go back to a song or something, even a bath, something that just feels good for yourself and that is giving time and relaxation to yourself? Or is it still hard to even give that moment?
Until now, for the sound movie, any enjoyment? No. I can't stay handle that. But because I changed the house now, it's been 1 month. But in the new house, I have a bit of garden. But what I do sometimes at 4 p.m., 5 p.m., I go out and I water the plants. That I stay can. It's not, it's not like partying or like, it's really that 1 hour is really helping me to calm down a lot. Yeah. But the sound, the music, no, I can't. I can't enjoy, But the gardening thing is like kind of relaxing yourself. Yeah, I find that way is really. I was really happy to move the house now. Otherwise, if I'm staying in apartment, it will be really hard for me. Yeah. Mm.
Right. And you had talked about how you haven't been able to meditate or focus or have any practice since then, but have any like Buddhist ideas or philosophy or memories of what this monk who taught you said before has the principles of Buddhism or your past practice, even if you're not able to do it now, has that come to help you in any ways?
It's not. It's coming helping to relax sometimes for meditation, but it's a bit hard to concentrate, of course. But you have to try many times to be quiet. But it's not a doubt. It's sometimes when I'm angry too much, or when I don't know, I can't suffer anymore, I was thinking, why the bad people are always surviving and the good people are, like going all the time. It's not a doubt, but some moment I feel this kind of things, and I see a lot of people, especially the young people, they stop, they don't trust the religion anymore, they don't follow the teaching anymore, and I feel sad when I see that, and at the same time I have some kind of this feeling also, and I want to help this kind of people, but I'm not in the situation, I'm not in the state also to help people mentally, but it will be one of my future projects I will do soon after I calm down myself to help people mentally also.
Why do you think it is that young people are becoming more disassociated with the religion, with Buddhism?
It's because, in Buddhism, we have saying that it's destiny to accept. Most of Myanmar people, we always say, well, yeah, it's our destiny. It's his destiny. He become like this. He died. He passed away because he only have the life of destiny, like to survive until now, or So the young people, they say, no, it's not the destiny. It's your work. You have to work for your destiny, and the young people are more thinking like strongly like this.
So you're saying that young people are confusing Buddhism to be like fatalist, that everything is predestined, they have no free will. Is that right?
Yeah, some, not all. Yeah, I see some doubt. Yeah.
Right, which of course the Buddhist teachings are not. They are certainly not fatalist. That's even in 19th century, you had European and American Orientalists that were, especially Christians, that were accusing Buddhism of being a fatalist religion where karma predetermined everything. And that's a very incorrect understanding of the actual teachings. It's a very superficial criticism. But you're saying that young Burmese themselves, and seeing the way that some of this thinking, this Buddhist thinking, is being expressed to explain why the generals have power and why they're able to get away with what they're doing, that those explanations are leading them towards a general disgust and dissociation with what they see as Buddhism, which is actually a perverted sense of it. But is that the case?
Yeah, and that's why I say it's really important to have somebody to explain you what is the real Buddhist teaching, not mixing with other philosophy or other things. I know somebody is my who the whole family is Buddhist, and then the child he asked the questions about the religion, and nobody can answer him. And he was shouted by his parents. He was shouted by his relative, and shut up! Don't ask any stupid question like this. You have to believe. And finally, he changed the religion. It's really sad to hear that. After, if he has somebody to explain him, after explanation, he want to change. Why not? This is his choice. He can choose any religion, but he doesn't have any because he changed the religion because the other religion explained him really well all his question, and So yeah, in Myanmar, one big thing missing for religion is that most people, they say, shut up, don't ask question, and believe 100%. It is really not good.
And of course, one of the real tragedies, I think, is the silence on the part of so many monks. Some of that silence has been somewhat complicit in what the military is doing. Others have just not engaged at all. And certainly one does not want monks to be political. But this is a false binary, in the sense that monks either need to be political, marching in the street, trying to change the government, or they need to just stay in their monasteries and study and do nothing. That's a false binary, that you only have one choice or the other. There's actually a large range of choices of how one can engage. And I've been told by friends that there has been such discomfort and even disgust at the way that so many monks have not been showing any solidarity or support. Of course, this is not to say all of them. Some have given everything, just as the protesters, and they've done it in a way that is still following the Vinaya, still following the 227 precepts. of their renunciate life. So it's very they're not breaking their vows in order to try to be political, but they are also showing support at the same time. So we should definitely affirm that. And we've had monks on this podcast who have been those kind of monastics, and so there have been many that have taken that stand, but there have also been many that have not. And a friend was telling me that in his community, the monks are actually starting to not get enough donations, not get enough food. And certainly the general lack of resources in general is playing a role in that. But in his estimation, there was a growing distrust and suspicion of monks not showing solidarity with the people. And so on the people side, there was a lack of generosity in wanting to give back and support the monks that they didn't really feel that support from. And that even some monks that weren't necessarily falling into that category were starting to their donations and their food were starting to dry up. And so, this is a really, really tragic thing that this military coup and the destructive force that the military has shown on Buddhism and the propagation of Buddhist teachings in Myanmar, and how much damage they've caused to it. This is another layer to that they're also sowing this wedge and this divide between many of the people and the monastics and the support that has been given so generously for generations.
Yeah, I know a lot of case of the case you mentioned, like people start to donating less to the monk, and some monks but for me personally, they can stay be quiet if they don't support military. But I can't imagine the monk who is supporting military. It's the worst. People should. I don't want to say people should stop donating, but it's not logical at all. Too, for me, I won't donate. I don't donate for this kind of thing. So some monks are okay. They have the right to be quiet as long as they are not supporting the military, because they can be with their meditation, they can be with their teaching, and if they are giving the peaceful mind and they can convince the people to have a peaceful practice, why not? In kind of one way they are helping people. It's some monks, no, they are supporting. I have some monks on I know, and right now even on Facebook I unblock him, or I can't see any more from him anymore. And I'm sure if I go back to Myanmar, I don't want to go to that monastery anymore.
Yeah, and I think however this plays out, this is causing a fundamental change we haven't seen in Myanmar in many decades or even centuries of reformulating the relationship that the people are having with their monks. Because up until now, that some of the big great monks that you're supposed to give to because you get so much merit, because of course they're so powerful. How could they be powerful without great parami and karma? So therefore you should give to those monks that already have a lot, because you'll also get the great merit for giving to them. And all of a sudden this has all started to be questioned. Things that weren't really critically questioned or thought about before are suddenly like, why am I and everyone else giving to this monk and that monk and that monk, when at this moment they're not just being silent, but they're clearly showing signs that they're supporting one side over the other. So why give this support here if we're not getting support back when we need it most, in the form of providing solace or spiritual teachings or solidarity or something like that?
Yeah, but I don't want to say one good thing about coup d'etat, but one positive thing from coup d'etat is like people have to face many difficult things and many things. So they realize more and more. For example, they realize for religion, okay, how to practice more Buddhist way. They see clearly not to donate to build another pagoda, rather than to donate to the people who is really in need. And also there's many evolution also. So I talked with one of the group, and it's really a good time to I don't say to solve all, but to start thinking and to evaluate, to start to change. some bad habits, the old traditional mindset, and it's very one of the positive thing happened this 5 or 6 months. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the hope, certainly, that this traditional structure the Buddha set down, the monkhood, the teachings of Dhamma, meditation, that this will continue in some form as society is changing, as it's in a state of revolution, as it's questioning everything, that this entire structure, which I think has provided enormous benefit to humanity, will continue in place. But exactly the lay monastic relationship and the role that the teachings and the practice is playing in society, that has to adapt, and that has to find a new way of settling in whatever the new Myanmar is going to be, without losing that essence, but that it's able to change and to shift to fit whatever the modern era and the modern needs are, because that's what, religion and spirituality, they have to do that anywhere. Any religion or spirituality there is, the human society is constantly changing and evolving. It has to change with it, while keeping something of its core and being able to adapt to the superficial changes to be relevant in new ways, but keeping whatever the core of that, that powerful spiritual belief was from the teacher so long ago. I know that from foreigners who are looking at the situation, knowing that Myanmar is a Buddhist country, knowing that the generals themselves call themselves Buddhists, there's some confusion about how could a so-called Buddhist leadership who are referencing Buddhist values and Buddhist religion be engaging in the practices that they are. So how do you understand that? What do you understand of the type of Buddhism that is practiced and followed among the military and the generals?
I think they have the Buddhists in their way. That is the short form I want to say. They make the religion whatever they want. It's like you can see many things from them. Like they trust a lot about the astrological things, and they do you have to, like, some astrologers say you have to do that in that time to be a king, or it's not a real religion they are believing. I don't know you saw that news or not. It's I don't remember their association. One association issued one letter saying that the general Myanmar is the future Buddha. So it's after you can imagine what kind of a fake religion they have. I don't say fake, but it's like not the real one. Yeah.
It's perverted. I mean, it's perverting the teachings according to superstition and soothsayer and some kind of shamanistic influence of numerology and superstition, etc. So it's just really perverting these teachings. And I think that Burmese people are not fooled. I think that they see it exactly for what it is. I think that it's a little more challenging for foreigners, for meditators, for foreign Buddhists that are looking from a distance to try to parse what exactly is going on with, because some of the language, the rites, the rituals, the practices, those are quite similar in a superficial way. And so there's a sense of confusion, but I think when you really dig into it, it's just a as you said, they're trying to make another religion. I would say they're really perverting the religion that they're claiming that they're protecting.
Yeah, it's like you say, foreigners. If the foreigners just would never been to Myanmar or was a bit far from Myanmar community, they might think your Buddhist is the religion with a bit calm and not fighting, not killing. Why they are killing? Why they are fighting? They just don't know. It's not all, and there's many fake things are involving in the religion. But some foreigner who come to the country and with a bit more closer to the community, they realize that they can see difference between why this kind of people can do that, what kind of religion, what kind of Buddhist religion they are following, and they can see. For example, my colleague, they know that it's there's some people which Buddhist religion is the real one, with not killing, who is calm, with something like that, and who are the people like military. They think killing for the country is a good thing, Yeah, they can see.
Yeah, and that's why I think it's so important to have conversations like this in English, because for listeners that are tuning into this, you're talking about your Buddhist practice and how it was different than the traditional kind of engaging in critical thought and going and definitely having the meditation. So you're experiencing the meditation from your monk teacher, but you're also being taught a critical way of evaluating, and that's showing that there's some difference between the type of practice you had and the more traditional society. And then we're also digging into learning how these in the military, there might be claiming that they're protecting this wide religion, but in actuality, they're harming it tremendously and they're perverting it. And so conversations like this are so important for those that are not able to see beyond that superficial, or just kind of hearing general talking points and are like, well, I see those generals and they're taking their shoes off at the pagoda and they're bowing before monks and, they're referencing this and that. So they're either confused or they're kind of fall into thinking that, well, it's Buddhist leadership of some kind. And so to really be able to talk honestly and openly about what's actually happening and the more nuanced shape of the way that Buddhism plays out there, I think is really important to educate people.
Yeah, and also because it's a sensitive topic, it's really hard to talk honestly about what you think about the religion. Even sometimes I'm in some group I'm a kind of outsider, and they can say, well, yeah, you will go to hell for sure because you are criticizing and you are doing that. Yeah, but more and more we are honestly talking. We are open to the wall. We are open to discussion, but there are some topic we can't talk until now within the society.
Right, until now. That's the key point, because what I've seen is that February 1st has kind of opened the lid off of a lot of things, and different ways of talking and of being and of communication and even of thought have really exploded past February 1st, because all of these fears, all of this suppression that was happening before for different reasons, it's now people are in so much danger, and the situation is bad on so many levels that there seems to be this explosion of critical inquiry and discussion and honest debate that in ways that was not happening before. And some of that, as you said, it's hard to talk about a benefit of a coup, but there's always benefits even of the worst disasters that befall us. There's always something that comes in the aftermath of that. And it does seem in this case, there's less fear than it seems like there has been before, that with what people are up against, there's just not really the time of day to keep being afraid of all these other things and to just start to think and talk more openly, or at least that's what I've been feeling. What's your take on that?
Yes, we are changing, but still we have some difficulty in the community also. Yes, I feel like this is the correct. This is time we should take advantage of this time to talk about that, and But in the other way, it's a lot of things happening, and it's not suddenly you feel like it's not the correct moment to say about that. So it's a bit hard to find a balance between to change.
Change is a difficult process for anyone, and any time. What are you finding as you're watching the struggles for change take place in real time? What kind of challenges are you seeing as you observe this?
If we talk about the challenges of the religion for changing, the concept or the thinking, it's compared to when I was in university student. Of course, it's really changing a lot. I can talk about that. I can talk things a lot, rather than when I was young. I can't talk anything, and they say no, you don't have the right to questioning anything. But these days, the people are. And one interesting thing I saw, not this day, like this years, and some monks, they are more logical, and they explain and they remind to other. I think I saw 2 months ago, or 1 month, was saying, if you are not logic, and how you can give the logical thinking to people, if you are not calm down yourself, how you can give the lesson to the calm down to people. But these days, people are not like 1980s or 80s or something, It's not like that anymore. You have to, this generation, they need the logical explanation, and you have to explain until they understand. So be prepared, and don't make the religion bad, because you can't explain well. When I see that book, I was really, I don't know how, I'm really happy, to see this kind of conversation from one monk.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, the religion has to adapt. The spirituality, it has to adapt and meet people where they're at. And it can't remain as it was for previous generations by the traditional old guard, by fear, whether it's a physical fear or whether it's a spiritual fear, right? Because spiritual fear is just as real, that prevents people from having actual conversations and critical inquiry inside their mind, and holds them in place. And these structures, especially now, they are not going to be held in place by force and by fear and by an old guard at the top speaking out to what people have to believe, how they have to feel, how they have to practice. That's not going to work. And if that is the methodology of what some of those top leaders are doing, then that is actually the worst thing, I would argue, for Buddhism to remain. That really there have to be people that look at how do we keep the core of the value of the monkhood and the teachings and the precepts and so many other, the meditation, so many other parts of it. How do we keep the value of this in our culture while finding new ways to adapt? Because every generation has to find it itself. And this was true of the post-World War II generation that had a new and exciting independent Buddhist kind of identity that they hadn't had before, and the religion was adapting them in new ways. This was true in the late 19th century during the colonial period, where there were different challenges, and the religion was being was facing all kinds of problems and struggles that it never had before, and it couldn't hold on to the way things always were. It had to adapt and innovated in surprising ways. People like Lady Sayadaw pushed it forward in ways that some of the old guard was very controversial, and there's a lot of resistance, but he found a way to continue to make it relevant to those people. And, at this time now, it'd be wonderful to see that happening. It'd be wonderful to see monks or practitioners or teachers or nuns, for sure, for that matter, that were able to continue to find the relevance and bring them to us while adapting to the needs and the reality of the moment. And this is, in many ways, this is a really exciting time for that, but it's also a challenging time, because if that doesn't happen, then, as you say, with the younger generation, they're just simply going to see less value in it. They're going to misunderstand it. They're going to hear not the true teachings, but the perverted teachings. And no one really has any time for these perversion of teachings. They're not going to hold. No one really has time for antiquated teachings. So there has to be some way to bring that and make that relevant.
No. I just want to say sometimes when I say here things frankly, honestly, what I think, maybe some part I was saying honestly is some like personal view, and I don't have any intention, to criticize the religions. And maybe if I say something, I don't know, some opinion, or if I criticize people, it's my personal view, and it's not reflecting all the society or Myanmar people, or just one of Myanmar people who grew up in Myanmar with a bit different way than the other, and just my point of view. I just want to clarify, because I say my name, and after I would distribute this podcast to my friends, my society. So I just want to clarify on the last point. This.
No, I thank you for that. I thank you for clarifying that. And I thank you for your honesty and vulnerability and having this discussion. As we talk about, we're talking very openly about things that a few months ago, would not, on either side, would not be this level of openness, but just the top has come off in so many cases. And for me as well, I also want to give that caveat that I'm just someone trying to understand this better. That's why we're having this conversation, to test theories and to ask questions back and forth. This also doesn't mean that I really have any idea what the heck I'm talking about. I could also be wrong and misguided in all kinds of ways. And if I am, then, these are the kind of conversations that correct me or comments from listeners. And so we're all just doing the best we can with our limited perspective, knowing that we certainly have blind spots as we're kind of groping around trying to figure things out. With that, I really thank you for taking the time to join us, speaking so vulnerably, honestly here. I know it's past midnight for you there in France, so we finally got a chance to connect with these time zones, and we both had difficult things in our schedule that delayed it. But I'm glad we got you on now, and I just thank you for all that you're doing to provide support and benefit for people back in Myanmar, and I'm sorry that you've had to deal on a personal level with all of this guilt and the trauma. I know that's true for all of us, but I do hope that as this goes on longer, which it looks like it's doing, that you're able to find that balance and find that peace and that mental and physical health while you continue to give and support so much for those people back there.
Thank you for let me involve in this kind of a nice program, and let me speak whatever I think, and honestly, without any restriction, and also I'm happy to share my experience, which can spread to the people who is listening this podcast, if they can listen, and if it can help them a bit to understand more about the people in Myanmar and then the coup and the situation of the people. Yeah, I'm very happy to be here. And also, I'm thank you for supporting Myanmar from start of the military coup until now. Even for small things they do for Myanmar, it can really help us a lot, and it can really give us motivating that we know that we are not alone, and all the people around the world are helping us and to be with us. So thank you, everybody.
I hope you found today's show as rewarding to listen to as we did to produce it. These are not easy times. I certainly know this on a very personal level, as some of you might also have picked up on from what I've shared on this and other episodes. These days, I'm now absorbed in doing all I can, at every moment of the day and night, to push through whatever is possible from this humble platform. As often might also be true for some of you at this time, this often involves decreased sleep hours and quick meals, all during heightened states of emotion. So if you found this or any other episodes we've done recently of value and feel this mission is a valuable one to continue, please consider supporting our effort by making a donation. As we have dramatically ramped up all of our efforts this month, we are only able to keep production at this level through the generous donations of listeners like you. If you would like to join in our mission to support those in Myanmar who are resisting the military coup, we welcome your contribution in any form, currency, or transfer method. Every cent goes immediately and directly to funding those local communities who need it most. Donations go to support such causes as the Civil Disobedience Movement, CDM, families of deceased victims, and the purchasing of protective equipment and medical supplies. Or if you prefer, you can earmark your donation to go directly to the guest you just heard on today's show. In order to facilitate this donation work, we have registered a new nonprofit called Better Burma for this express purpose. Any donation you give on our Insight Myanmar website is now directed to this fund. Alternatively, you can visit our new Better Burma website, which is betterburma.org, and donate directly there. In either case, your donation goes to the same cause, and both websites accept credit cards. You can also give via PayPal by going to paypal.me/betterburma. Additionally, we can take donations through Patreon, Venmo, GoFundMe, and Cash App. Simply search Better Burma on each platform and you'll find our account. You can also visit either website for specific links to those respective accounts, or email us at info@betterburma.org. In all cases, that's Better Burma, one word, spelled BETTERBURMA. If you would like to give in another way, please contact us. Thank you so much for your kind consideration.
Bisayana Bisayo Potaba Yarananga Unyana Daduya Danandirigana Zadamana Vigada Bisayana Bisayo Oba Yarananda Dayananga Yaranaya Dayaranam Potaba Yaranamano Daduya.
Been listening to the Insight Myanmar podcast. We'd appreciate it very much if you could rate, review, and/or share this podcast. Every little bit of feedback helps. You can also subscribe to the Insight Myanmar podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever else you get your podcasts to make sure you don't miss any of our upcoming episodes. If you can't find our feed on your podcast player, please just let us know and we'll ensure it can be offered there in the future. Also, make sure to check out our website for a list of our complete episodes, including additional text, videos, and other information available at insightmyanmar.org. And I also invite you to take a look at our new nonprofit organization at betterburma.org. There was certainly a lot to talk about in this episode, and we'd like to encourage listeners to keep the discussion going. Make a post, request specific questions, and join in on discussions currently going on the Insight Myanmar podcast Facebook group. You're also most welcome to follow our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter accounts by the same name. If you're not on social media, feel free to message us directly at info@insightmyanmar.org. Or if you'd like to start up a discussion group on another platform, let us know and we can share that forum here. Finally, we're open to suggestions about guests or topics for future episodes. So if you have someone or something in mind, please do be in touch. We would like to take this time to thank everyone who made this podcast possible. Currently, our team consists of 2 sound engineers, Mike Bink and Martin Combs. There's of course Zach Hessler, content collaborator and part-time co-host. Ken Pransky helps with editing, and a special Mongolian volunteer who is asked to remain anonymous does our social media templates. In light of the ongoing crisis in Myanmar, a number of volunteers have stepped in to lend a hand as well, and so we'd like to take this time to appreciate their effort in our time of need. And we're always on the lookout for more volunteers during this critical time, so if you'd like to contribute, definitely let us know. We'd also like to thank everyone who has assisted us in arranging for the guests we've interviewed so far. And of course, we send a big thank you to the guests themselves for agreeing to come on and share such personal, powerful stories. Finally, we're immensely grateful for the donors who made this entire thing possible. We want to remind our listeners that the opinions expressed by our guests are their own and don't necessarily reflect the host or other podcast contributors. Please also note that as we are mainly a volunteer team, we do not have the capacity to fact-check our guest interviews. By virtue of being invited on our show, there's a trust that they will be truthful and not misrepresent themselves or others. If you have any concerns about the statements made on this or other shows, please contact us. This recording is the exclusive right of Insight Myanmar podcast and may not be used without the expressed written permission of the podcast owner, which includes video, audio, written transcripts, or excerpts of any episodes. Also not meant to be used for commercial purposes. On the other hand, we're very open to collaboration, so if you have a particular idea in mind for sharing any of our podcasts or podcast-related information, please feel free to contact us with your proposal. If you would like to support our mission, we welcome your contribution. During this time of crisis, all donations now go towards supporting the protest movement in Myanmar through our new nonprofit, Better Burma. You may give by searching Better Burma on PayPal, Venmo, Cash App, GoFundMe, and Patreon, as well as via credit card at betterburma.org/donation. You can also give right on our Insight Myanmar website, as all donations given there are directed towards the same fund. And with that, we're off to work on the next show, so see you next episode.
Yeah.